update we've all been waiting for has finally come out, the Dragon update. And in this video, I'm going to be telling you about every single new feature that was added to the game. The new fruits, the new swords, the new guns, and literally even a new race, as well as new islands and so many other things. So let's get into it. The very first thing that you need to know is that the max level has actually been increased from 2,550 to 2,600. And they've revamped the chop fruit to the blade fruit. And all of you probably already know why. It's obviously because of copyright. And don't worry, it still has the same passive ability to not take damage from any swords. They also added a new fruit to the game called the gas fruit, and this is a mythical fruit that costs a total of 3,200,000 belly, or 2,500 Robux from the Blox fruit dealer. And many of you might be wondering, is this a fruit that actually exists in One Piece? Well, yes it does. It's used by Caesar Clown in the Punk Hazard arc, and I haven't actually seen the moves of the fruit yet, but I am guessing they replicated it pretty well. Well, let's get into the moves themselves. The very first one is the normal attack, where you use a sword made out of gas to just basically get a bunch of M1 attacks, similar to the Kitsune's M1 attacks. Then we got the Z ability, which is called Suffocating Fumes. This is a sequence of two different attacks. When you hit the first attack, you're going to do a bit of damage, and when you hit the second attack, that's when you do the full damage of this attack. So ideally, you want to get both of those punches landed. Then we got the X ability, which is called Bursting Vapor, where you basically just make a cage out of gas and just trap your enemy inside, and it deals a bunch of tick damage to them. And this one has a 100 mastery requirement. Then we got the C ability, which is called Smog Demons, with a 200 mastery requirement, where you just make a bunch of demons that are made out of gas, and they start flying around you for a couple seconds before just charging at your target. And if it ends up hitting them, it's going to give them the poison effect, and it also deals a bunch of damage to them. Moving on, we got the V ability, and this one has a 300 mastery requirement, and it's called Vapor Condensation. For this one, you have to fill up your gas meter, and once you do that, you can transform into a large gas person, and you can start using a gas sword as your weapon. And once you transform, all of the damage that you do with your default abilities is going to be increased, especially the M1s. So make sure you abuse the crap out of that. Moving on to the F ability, we got Traveling Gas. For this one, you actually turn into a gas character, and you're able to fly around for a few seconds before the flight ability is cancelled. And overall, not much is known about this fruit, but since it's a mythical fruit, you can probably guess that it's going to be really solid. Moving on to the next thing that was added, the new race in the game. And just like the Cyborg and Ghoul race, this is a race that you can only obtain through a quest. And the way you get it is by talking to the Dragon Wizard, who's located next to the Dragon Hunter and Dojo Trainer NPCs. And I know you guys don't know who those NPCs are yet, but we'll get into that later in the video. And so far, not much is known about the race, because at the time I'm recording this, not many people have actually unlocked abilities of the race. But it is a race with the two small red horns and a pair of wings, which is pretty dragonic if you ask me. Moving on, they also added a new sea event to the game, and this one is called Prehistoric Island. And this sea event only happens if the player has the volcanic magnet item in their inventory at sea level danger 6. And keep in mind, on this island, the lava of the volcano instantly kills you. I wonder if you can avoid that using the magma fruit. It would be pretty cool if you could. Moving on, they also added a new sword to the game called Dragon Heart. And the way you get this is by opening the secret gate in the Yama room. And at the time of this recording, it's actually unknown how you're supposed to open that gate, but I'm sure people are going to figure it out. Moving on to the abilities of the sword, the first one is called Dragonic Bliss, with a 150 mastery requirement, where you just beat the crap out of your enemy. Then we got the X ability, which is called Infernal Catastrophe, with a 350 mastery requirement. For this one, you create an orb of fire above you, and you spawn in an area of flames that literally damages everyone around you. And the only things known about the sword is that it has pretty high damage. And just like they added a new sword, they added a new gun called the Dragon Storm. And this is probably a good time to tell you guys that so many guns in this update have been revamped, and I'll definitely be telling you guys all about it. But anyways, let's get into the Dragon Storm guns abilities. The very first ability is the M1 attack. Then we got the Z ability called Dragonic Cascade with a 125 mastery requirement. Then we got Infernal Comment with a 250 mastery requirement. The names are really cool. We also got a butt ton of new accessories. We got the Dojo Belt in orange, the Dojo Belt in white, as well as yellow. The orange Dojo Belt gives you a 6% melee damage increase, as well as a 30% movement speed buff. The white belt gives you a 2% melee damage increase and a 10% movement speed buff. And the yellow belt gives you a 4% melee damage increase, as well as a 20% movement speed buff. Moving on to the next accessory, which is called the T-Rex Skull. It gives you a 15% defense against melee and Blox Fruits attacks, as well as 750 health, which is kind of crazy. After that, we got the Dino Hood, and you can craft this from the Fossil Expert for a total of 25 dinosaur bones, as well as 10 mini tusks. Moving on, there's a bunch of new materials that have been added to the game. The Green Toad Berry, the Pink Pig Berry, the Blaze Ember, the Dinosaur Bones, and the Volcanic Magnets. You can get the Blaze Ember by completing a quest from the Dragon Hunter, and this is what it looks like. It's pretty cool. For the Dinosaur Bones, you can get them from the Prehistoric Island, which I'm pretty sure is the new island. Next up, we got the Volcanic Magnets, and this is a mythical item that you can craft from the Dragon Hunter. We also got a butt ton of new NPCs in this game. The first one is called the Dojo Trainer, and this is an NPC that you can get a butt ton of items from. The first one is the white belt. The second one is the rare scroll. You can also get the yellow belt from this guy, as well as the orange belt. You can also get the legendary scroll from him. The next NPC is the Barista, who's actually an NPC that's added to the cafe. And this is actually an NPC that lets you craft aura colors, which is honestly really cool. And I'm actually kind of surprised. So I'm guessing they added a new way to get aura colors in the game, so you don't need to find the guy that sells them to you. You can also craft craft a color for your dragon, which is kind of cool as well. Then we got the barista's cousin. And what's up with Blox Fruits and just adding cousin to random people's names? We used to have the Blox Fruit dealer's cousin, but luckily they changed him to the Blox Fruit Gacha. And the barista's cousin is an NPC that you can learn the aura recipes from. So you actually need the aura recipes, and I'm guessing you need materials as well. Next up, we got the dragon tamer, and this NPC allows you to purchase the saddle for the Western Dragon. And the Western Dragon saddle allows 5 allied players to ride with you, which is honestly really cool. Which means if you have the dragon fruit equipped, you can actually have 5 of your teammates ride on top of you, which is honestly amazing. The next NPC is called the Dragon Hunter, and this is an NPC that lets you craft the monster magnet for a total of 15 blaze embers as well as 10 metal scraps. Moving on, we got the Dragon Wizard, and we don't know much about this guy yet, except that he looks really cool. Moving on, we got a new quest at Tiki Island, which lets you defeat the new NPCs and get all the way up to the new max level. Moving on, we also got a new NPC called the Submarine Worker, who's an NPC that can be found behind the submarine at Tiki Outpost next to the Sun-Kissed Warriors. Moving on, we also got a bunch of NPCs that have been rebranded. The female islanders have changed to the Hydra Enforcers, the giant islanders have been changed to the Venomous Assailants, and the Island Empress has been changed into the Hydra Leader. And we also got the Serpent Hunter as well as the Skull Slayer NPCs, who are the new NPCs on Tiki Outpost. We obviously also got the Chop Fruit, which has been rebranded to the Blade Fruit, and we also got fruit revamps for the Diamond Fruit as well as the Dragon Fruit. And that's probably the most popular part of this update, the Dragon Fruit revamp. It's literally been in the works forever. They also revamped Port Town, Hydra Island, the beautiful Pirate Domain, the Great Tree, as well as Tiki Outpost. Or for Tiki Outpost, they haven't really revamped it, they've just given it an extension for the new update. They also revamped the Dragon Talon fighting style. I'm guessing that has to do something with this dragon update. There's just so many dragon related things in this update. They also revamped the Twin Hook sword, and literally every single sword model in the game was remade, which means every single sword that you had before is gonna look different, which is pretty crazy to think about. No wonder this update took so long. And that's not even the craziest thing. They revamped literally every single gun in the game. No, not just the model, literally everything from scratch. The icon, the model, as well as the abilities of every single gun. The slingshot, the flintlock, the musket, the Acidum rifle, the bizarre rifle, which is now called the bizarre revolver, the cannon, the refined flintlock, which is called the dual flintlock now. Then we got the refined musket, which changed into the magma blaster. They also revamped the refined slingshot, the bazooka, the kabucha, the serpent bow, which is now the venom bow, and the soul guitar, which is now the skull guitar. Honestly, the soul guitar sounded a lot cooler in my opinion. There's also a bunch of quality of life changes. They added a new fruit system, a new hockey system. They obviously made the dragon fruit available to the public again, and the dragon fruit now has 2 variations, the eastern and western. And they also added new animations to every NPC in the game. They changed the way chests work, so when you collect them, they actually look a lot more different. They also added a new hockey animation as well as a new instinct animation. And they also added a new section above your inventory that shows your hockey, your race awakening, your race v3 ability, your instinct, as well as your flash step. They also added a new logo to the game, obviously, because they do that with every single update. And they added a new place called the Dragon Dojo. They nerfed the Kitsune Fruit and Pilot Helmet speed glitch, which has just been way too overpowered. Now the Pilot Helmet actually has no effect on the Kitsune Fruit speed, because if you use them both at the same time before, you would literally just become the Flash. And they also changed it so that the sea danger level only appears on your screen now when you're on a boat. They also added a new visual for the Portal Sea ability, and also a butt ton of bug fixes. And overall, just a really crazy update.